Welcome back, peeps. In this video, we're going to do something pretty quick, short, and to the point. Just going to show you how to grease your upper and lower ball joints and tie rod ends on your C4 Corvette. You've got 6 points in the front, 3 on each side. You have your upper ball joint, your tie rod end, some grease fitting on that, and then your lower ball joint. You see the grease fitting there? Comes in from the side on the lower ball joint from the side. I have this side of the car jacked up. You can do it with the wheel on if you have it up on ramps so you can slide underneath. In my case, I find it's just easier to jack the car up from one side and pull the wheel off. It takes a lot less time than breaking out the ramps, driving this thing up the ramps, etc. Or if you had a lift, you could just lift it up to get to that lower one. And of course you can reach the tie rod end also with the wheel on the car. You could always do this one without the wheel on the car. You just simply, or with the wheel on the car rather, you simply open the hood. And these are aftermarket. These are Moog upper and lower ball joints and tie rod ends, inner and outer, with grease fittings. However, the factory setup also had grease fittings and allowed for pumping the grease. Now, depending on what one you bought, like we'll say take the BMW for example over there, it does not have grease fittings. It's all sealed. So once the grease leaks out of the boot, if it rips or tears or evaporates or whatever, you're on borrowed time at that point. With these cars, anything that has a grease fitting, even if the boot tears, you can potentially prolong the life of your ball joints just by greasing them more frequently. And so what you want to do is put the grease in until, well, you got a couple options. You can either puff it up until the boots start to swell so you know it's full, or you could keep pumping it, in which case you're going to leak some old grease out, and you could leak all the old grease out until new grease starts coming out, and do it that way. To each his own. It should be noted, though, that generally when your grease is dark and dirty, remember you have some sort of contaminants in there, and the weight of the car on the suspension as you're turning the wheels, that ball joint, it's a ball literally sitting in a cavity that's rolling around, so you would be mashing and squishing sand, dirt, other particulate in there that may be wearing out your ball joints prematurely. So that's up to you, though, if you want to just puff them up or pump until they leak. Fresh. I actually do something in between, and I pump them full of grease until they start to leak a scotch, and then once they start to leak, I stop, and then it'll run its course. It'll leak a little bit more pressure out, and then you're done after that. That's how I do it, but you got options, I reckon, depending on your tastes. So all right, we'll just get to pumping. Here's the old grease gun full of grease, and well, we'll only show you this side, but I mean, there's not really much to it other than that. Just note that upper, lower ball joints and the tie rod ends, you want to prolong the life of these suspension components, and so they don't wear out. And you can, of course, always check for wear by, can you move the tie rod in and out? This one is stiff, won't budge. And then your ball joints, you can check for play by, if you have the wheel on, trying to wiggle it up, down, see if there's any play in your ball joints, upper or lower. Okay, and so with the grease fitting easily accessible, put your grease gun on, give it a few pumps, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can already see the boot is starting to swell. 7 pumps, 8, 9, 10. Admittedly, I haven't greased these in a while. Alright, and there you go. So we're starting to ooze out a little bit. So this grease fitting is full. And keep your rag nearby, so we want to clean off that grease fitting, and you don't want all this stuff dripping down onto your suspension, your wheels, your tires, your whatevers. So try to collect it before it goes dropping onto parts you don't want contaminated in grease. And there we are for that. So this one's greased up. It's really rinse and repeat for the other two on this side, and then for the same on the 3 on the other side of the car on the front. Now this car does not have any grease fittings in the back. For the rear tie rods, they are sealed, but in case you don't have this car firsthand, someone did put aftermarket ones on there, which I plan to do when mine finally fail one of these days, if they ever do. I will put some aftermarket ones on the back, and then I will be able to grease those rear tie rods. But they're still good for now, so I won't mess with them. And admittedly, I should have done this when I did the brakes on it in that last video, but I forgot until after I put the car together, and I was like, oh man, you know what I forgot to do? Grease the fittings. So, oopsie daisy, but we're doing it now, so there you have it, guys. And with that one out of the way, here is the tie rod end. So you go at it from the underneath here. Again, you can't do this with the wheel on, but you wouldn't be able to see very much. So you can see the boot's already swelling. This one should probably only take, there we go, 3 pumps. If I go one more, it'll probably leak out. Let's find out, shall we? 4. And there it goes. So that one's done. Now on to the lower ball joint. I'm assuming you can see that. I don't know how well. But if you can see the final grease point here, the lower ball joint, I have it angled in such a way that if I were under the car in the middle with the wheels on, I would still be able to access the fitting. So it just goes on like that, and then we'll give her a few pumps. Oops. There we go. And let's say that's game. Kind of made a mess of things, but it is what it is. That's how you grease your fittings. I guess you can't even see the boot, but never mind. It's swelled up to the point where it is leaked out now, so I'll go ahead and do the other side off camera. You don't need to see that, but that's how you grease your fittings on not just a C4 Corvette, but any other car that would have grease fittings. You can do this to prolong their life indefinitely. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.